Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan joins us in Davos, where he is talking to investors. Minister, you're back in the Finance Minister's role once again. Last year the message was about investing in South Africa. This year a very similar message once again. Give me a sense of how that message is changing.
The confidence from foreign companies in South Africa is pretty good. And those that either have experience with us or want to have an experience both operating in South Africa and using South Africa as a base for Africa is still very attractive to those companies. Now internally, what we've got to explain to people is that not everything is the fault of government. That you have a world economy that is in trouble, and one of the things that we're still looking for is this balance between the interests of developed countries and the necessity for finding yield in the financial sector with the interests of development, funding things like the SDGs, and making sure that the bottom 40% that the World Bank talks about around the world, a large part of which is in the African continent, don't find themselves there in 10, 20 years' time.
Minister, the President in the middle of December signed in the Protection of Investment Act. Now, the bill was massively controversial. It talked about shareholdings in security companies, and it was also seen to be quite divisive when it came to AGOA. Isn't it contradictory to come to Davos and ask for investment, but at the same time have this particular piece of legislation in place?
From the general picture that I'm aware of, we might have an exaggeration of just 1 or 2 points in that bill. Protection of investment happens all over the world. I think, as Minister Davies has explained before, the bilateral treaties, investment treaties that we had were aged and were old. And thirdly, the research was done to make us comparable with markets that we actually trade with. So nothing extraordinary happened. I think where attitude and sentiment might come in is on issues like if we have a difference, where do we adjudicate them? Now, we are a sovereign democracy. If you have a problem with us within our democracy, then let our constitution and the court system determine the outcome.
Lots of South Africans, Minister, very, very gloomy about prospects for the future. Is this particular Davos gathering a turnaround point for South Africa?
I think the kind of work we've put in now and after Davos will enable us to get a better relationship and understanding going with our social partners. A lot of work to do in that area. But if we don't act together, we'll have a worse situation. So the choice is very clear. Do we allow the country to deteriorate, or do we use even the advantages we've built up over the last 20 years to take us successfully into the next 10 years? And good visionary leadership requires us to come together, change the narrative, create some levels of optimism. There will be hardships.